So the first one is, how did your passion get started? Assuming your passion is music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, it was like in middle school, listening to rappers and like seeing when I would figure out clever lines. I thought it was the coolest thing ever how an artist could like put words together and like have these clever things. So even like comedians, if you know who Bo Burnham is, he's like I remember when I was in elementary school, my brothers would show me his YouTube videos. He would just have such clever lines. I thought it was like the coolest thing ever. So I just became so into it. So sophomore year of high school, I was writing, and I went to a concert, and I got to meet the artist through Eastside, Chance the Rapper's brother, Taylor Bennett.
Oh
I
wow.
I interviewed him, and he was the first person to ever like I told him I make music, and he was the first person I ever told that I make music to. So that was cool. Thank you, Eastside. Um, and then from there, I just decided that like I might as well try it because I'm never gonna have a chance to try it again. So if it works out, that'd be awesome. I'm also very into music business, so if that's the other side of it, like that ends up what's happening, I'm fine either way.
Interesting. So you would say that your time at East definitely had an influence on the music that you make, right?
Can you repeat that again? Sorry.
Oh yeah, I think I like totally blacked out for that. So your time at East, how is it an influence on the path that you're taking in the music that you make?
Um, I guess it helped me gain confidence because my like, friends weren't always very into music, and I think for my childhood friends to see me making music is probably weird for them. So going into college, it like I was used to like people not really listening to it and like always accepting it. So I guess that gave me the experience of like being fine if people don't always love what I do, and I'm just gonna keep doing making stuff that I like. Oh wait, you're
Oh,
on mute.
Remy. Yeah, Remy, you're
That's
mute.
nice. That's nice. Okay, so how does it feel to like share your music with other people when you started going to like Spotify and performing at prom? How did that feel different from just singing to yourself?
So, performing at prom was and probably still is the best experience of my life because I saw Anderson Paak perform there like a month before it, and he's one of my favorite artists. So seeing an art like being able to perform on a stage that I watched someone perform on like a month before, even though obviously it wasn't like a concert for me, just the fact I was able to go on that stage, that was the coolest feeling ever. And I had one song that like had a catchy chorus that people knew the words to. So hearing my senior class, even kids that I wasn't friends with, kind of know like the words, and by the end of the third verse, like be able to repeat it back. That was sick. Um, I forget this. What was the second part of the question? About
It was just like, how did it feel to like share with other people?
oh
You did Spotify
um,
too.
it's definitely a very scary thing to do because I know I definitely say things that even my mom is like, "Oh, I didn't know that. Like you felt like that," or blah blah blah. So it's very weird. But I think going to college, I went with the mindset of like I'm gonna be a more open person. So there is like a little bit of scariness of like I'm releasing like part of the thoughts I have that most people like, probably wouldn't say, especially in a song. But I enjoy doing it. It makes me feel more comfortable.
So where would you like, where are some ideas that you tend to draw your lyrical inspiration from?
Ooh. So like I was saying before, I'm really, really into clever lyrics. So a lot of the rappers I listen to, even though like there's a genre of rap music called like crack rap. It's like rappers that rap about like drugs, but it's like very clever. So I think a lot of my stuff is drawn from like loving clever lyrics. So like I'm very into movies and sports. So very like obscure references that I kind of pull out that honestly I don't think anyone understands besides myself. But like I kind of make the music for myself and it ends up working for other people. That's awesome. And like my brother's in medical school, so like I have like a clever science line I learned in bio, and I'm like, you see that line? He's like, yeah, I saw it. I'm like, yeah.
So how has like music had an impact on your life, not only your own music, but other artists too? And how does it speak to you? And like with that, do you think it's important for other people to find music that speaks to them?
Yeah, I think it's so important. I think music is my favorite thing in the world, and like I'm not the most diverse in it. Like I listen just like to a lot of rap music. Like I don't have that many genres I also listen to. But I think it's awesome when other people like are very passionate about something, whether it's rap or whether it's rock or jazz or anything. I think it's so important because I think like music can like narrate your life. Not narrate, what's the word? You know what I mean? Like it can like kind of like go with the way you're living. Like there's songs you listen to and there's songs I won't listen to because I'm like, that sounds like freshman year of high school going to a cross country meet. So I'm like, that's just a bad vibe. Like I really don't like that anymore. But and there's songs that you listen to and you're like, that's like the happiest time of my life. That was awesome. So I think music is just such an important part of everything I do. And I'm minoring in music business and learning more about like how music gets out there. And you can't really see it. My entire room is like music.
So you kind of were talking a bit at the end of that last question. So is music, you think you see it as a career path for yourself?
So if it worked out, my like actual music, that worked out and I could make a living off of that, that'd obviously be the greatest thing ever. I'm minoring in music media enterprise, which is music business. So if that's also the route I end up taking, I'm also just as happy doing that because since I've been like in middle school also, I've also found that side of the industry very interesting. Like I remember learning that Chance the Rapper, the hat he sells with the number 3 on it, he made like $6 million or something off of just selling that hat. I remember thinking like that's like how did he do that? Like I was just as maybe not just as, but I was very entranced by like that concept just as much as the music itself.
So where do you see yourself in like 5 to 10 years?
5 to 10 years. So if it's on the music side and I'm still able to make music, I can be performing. That'd be awesome. But I guess more realistically, I would love to be helping plan and set up concerts. So what my friend's father does for Live Nation, which is like a job that interests me, is like he helps plan Made in America. So he's the guy that will call the managers and figure out which stage each artist should perform at. So something like that. Obviously, I don't expect to be planning Made in America at like age 25, but something along the lines of like planning festivals and planning concerts, that'd be interesting to me.
So you mentioned Anderson .Paak, and I could like kind of see Flower Boy off like behind your bed, I think there. Like what other who are your favorite artists, favorite songs, and like how have they impacted you?
My favorite artists right now would be J. Cole, JID, and a rapper named Conway. And my favorite song of all time is Soundtrack to My Life by Kid Cudi. Um, but yeah, they shape me whether it is as a person. Like I honestly think they've shaped me as being like a very nice and like compassionate person because I remember hearing like I was very into dissecting lyrics. So in 7th grade, I heard these artists talking about their emotions and hearing how like they wanted to be treated. So I think that made me like turn to a better person. And being a white person who makes rap music, I understand that I make music in a genre that's not my culture's music. And I learned at a young age that like about the N word, and I never use that word, even though I sure we all know tons of white people that use that word easily. I think music has changed me in that facet as a person. Um, Influence wise, I'm always referencing artists that I love, like Mac Miller and J. Cole and JID, whether it be like stylistically in the beats I choose or the topics I choose. But yeah, I try to mimic them, like not too much, but I try to do like a blend of all my favorite people together.
So before we started this, we were listening to some of your music, and we all decided together that we thought you sounded like Mac Miller. So that's kind of cool that you bring that up now.
Awesome, yeah.
Yeah, I totally heard like a mix of like Mac Miller and like Anderson .Paak before you even said their names at all. So I was.
Yeah, and I released that last year, and since then I've been working on my next stuff, which I like to think is like 10 times better. Like I honestly can't even listen to my last stuff because I think this new stuff's so much better. So hopefully you guys will enjoy that when I release that soon. But yeah, that means a lot that you got Mac and Anderson .Paak. I love them so much.
Do you think you could like walk us through one of your favorite songs of yours and
Yeah,
like
sure.
and how you derive maybe some lyrics or
Yeah,
just sounds from your artist?
yeah. Well, one of my songs or one of my favorite artists' songs?
One of your songs.
One of my songs. So this isn't like one of my favorite songs, and I wrote this junior year. But the first song off of my first album that's only like on SoundCloud. I started the album by saying, "My mind fine, but my rhymes ain't. I mean, my rhymes fine, but my mind ain't," which was like it was like like a paradox of me being like my mind fine, but my rhymes ain't. Wait, I mean my rhymes are fine, but my mind's ain't. And I thought I remember thinking like for a while about like whatever statement I start the album with has to kind of like summarize the album. And that ended up being like a lot of the album was talking about the struggles I went through with like mental illness and stuff. So that like was a big line for me that I like really wanted to start it with that because I thought it was like kind of funny that I was like they're paradoxing each other, the statements. And then going into like how I decide what to write about for songs, that's always so hard. Like writing the first line of a song is the hardest thing ever because I can never think about like which direction I want to go with it. But for my album that's on Spotify and Apple Music, it was all storytelling songs. So for that, I was like just honestly thinking of like a story I could tell, and that made it kind of easier because I kind of knew what direction I wanted to go with it.
So when you are like writing these songs, is it like this is just like a question I thought of like 2 seconds ago. Is it like you write it all together, or do you take breaks and stuff like an essay, or is it something you just feel and just go at it?
That's a great question. I think I'm not sure if other artists do this. I think it's a really weird method that I do. I a lot of the times write a verse and then I record it because I want to know what it sounds like, just so I know if I should even go with the song still. So like, or maybe I'll think of the chorus first and record it, and I'll go like verse, record, instead of just writing it straight out, which maybe I should just do that to have a more like direct understanding what the song will be about. But I generally like write a verse, record it, see how my voice sounds, like how the flow sounds, and then I'll go to the next verse, and maybe I'll go back and re-record it later of my voice. Like if I record one day, then lose my voice and record the next day, the one verse might sound like raspier than the other one. So then I'll have to end up like re-recording at the same time just so it sounds the same.
So being a writer for Eastside and like knowing grammar and all of that, do you think that made you more into the lyrics than the beat, for example? I mean, I'm not saying you're into lyrics more than beat, but did your experience with writing help you with?
Yeah, I always loved writing and the use of words, which is definitely why I loved being a part of Eastside and writing. Like I remember for Eastside, I wrote a story about Donald Glover, who's Childish Gambino. Yeah, I think it definitely helps. I think it helps me be clever. I mean, Gags is like one of the most clever people ever. So yeah, I bet Gags definitely has. He used to be a rapper. If you guys didn't know that, he has a song or something out somewhere. I forget.
Wait,
But,
actually?
I think he does. I think in college he made it. I think he made a song with Maniscalco, actually.
Oh God.
Which I would love to hear. I'm not sure they necessarily go hand in hand with like writing, because I never had to like write poetry or some type of things for Eastside. But I do think my love of writing is shown in both.
So one of the last questions, what advice do you have for students like at East now or just students in high school who want to get into making music?
I mean, I would say that every student that wants to make music has the exact same fear, which is like, what will my friends say? Like, it's so hard to do that. But then I just kept telling myself, like, this is my only chance to do it. Like, I might as well if I fail. Like, I still have these other passions that I'm into, like the business side of it. But I knew I had to try to do something with it. I would never been able to live with the guilt of like, I never tried something that I listened to every single day. Because like I was so passionate about it to the point where like showing my dad YouTube videos of things he had no interest in, like freestyles. I'd like stop the video and be like, "You hear that line?" He's like, "No." I'm like, "It was this and this." And I would just say that kids should just take their chance and go for it.
Perfect. Thank you.